All right, parents, here we go again. It's the Ask Dr. Tony episode. This is the Experience Miracles podcast, and I'm your host, Dr. Tony Ebel, an expert in pediatrics, neurodevelopmental disorders, and drug-free, nervous system-focused healthcare. On this weekly episode, I'll be addressing the top questions on every parent's mind. If there's one thing we love and welcome, it's parents who never stop learning, asking the hard questions, and advocating for your kiddos like none other. So get ready for some real talk, real-life clinical and parenting experience, and real easy to understand answers that will help your family take action and get to that next level of health and healing. You ask, I answer. Let's dive into today's episode. My favorite place to be is being a dad, being a husband, being with my kids, and being outside. Like if I put kind of two of my favorite things together, it's my family, it's farming, it's nature. We went on spring break. We went to Tennessee. We went to the Smoky Mountains. Shout out to you rock stars, in Tennessee. We went hiking. And so there's so much awesomeness with spring, especially because there's just so much awesomeness to us getting outside. I could do a 30-hour probably podcast about all the benefits to health and wellness and our nervous systems and our immune systems and our emotional, well-being and regulation and our vagus nerve, and the list goes on, by being outside in nature. And so with that, there's so much good. And this one's going to come out, obviously, in the spring. And so there's this extra love that we all have, especially depending upon where you live. If you get kind of a little bit more pushed inside for a few months with winter, once those trees start blooming and the grass starts going and everything starts rolling, every single one of us and our kids naturally, innately are going to be like, let me out there. Some of you are probably teachers. How fun is it in April and May when they're not only tired and worn out of the school year and the classrooms and the homework and the projects, and it's always, what do we do every spring with the school schedules? There's spring concerts and there's just 1,000 projects slammed into the last 2 months of the year while the kids are looking out the window and knowing how warm it is and how sunshine is rolling and wanting to get outside. So I'm belaboring this point intentionally to kick this one off. The getting outside, especially in the spring, is one of the most important, really is. It sounds so like basic, just getting outside in nature. But when it comes to healing and being healthy, and honestly, even when it comes to healing from chronic illness, with our kids, with whatever the challenges may be. If it's autism and neurological, guess what? Especially if it's autism, it includes the conversation about the gut and the immune system and inflammation. And if it includes a conversation about the gut and the immune system and inflammation, well, we're having an allergies conversation. And so we'll kind of focus today's chat on environmental spring allergies, so kind of the outside allergies, the trees, the pollen, the whatnot. But I want families to be able to address their allergies naturally, drug-free, fully, and I want to really help as many kids and families with this one fully, entirely eradicate allergies from your family's thought process at all. Because for a lot of families, all that fun, all that joy, all that health building and promotion of going outside in the spring, they absolutely positively can't do it, or they're miserable when they do because their allergies take over, and or they're miserabler, which is probably not a word, but if you could take the misery of spring allergies and make them worse, well, that's called Claritin and Singulair and Mucinex. The medications, did you know that actually, and again, let's go, RFK Jr., this will pretty soon be declassified. Some of those sinus, I don't even know the world of medications. I just know how they don't get to the root cause, and so often they're not even near as good as they've been marketed and sold and told us to, and then they come with side effects. But that's really true with spring allergies. No matter what medication, whether it's a prescription one or over-the-counter or a mix of them, they're nasty. The side effects from allergy medications are the direct effects of immune system and nervous system dysregulation. Their drowsiness, their exhaustion, their anxiety. Did you know that these allergy medications are steroid based? So once I get into the thick of it here and we teach, like we always do on every episode, what's the actual root cause of allergies? Well, there's sympathetic dominance in there. There's a nervous system that's dysregulated. A nervous system dysregulation means the nervous system, the fight or flight, sympathetic, protective side is too wound up. Guess what? The S words here run together, so you can remember this. Steroid-based, so allergy meds, some forms are different, but they all go down the same road. they manipulate the immune system and they use steroids, corticosteroids. The number one of the top side effects, it's hard to say number one side effect because it hits every kid differently, but the way you see this in clinical practice and the studies, they have to literally put this on the box of these things. One of the biggest side effects in kids of allergy medications is hyperactivity, anxiety, sensory issues. So especially for our incredible tribe here on the PX Docs platform and Experience Miracles podcast, our homies, we're a lot of us are in the world of sensory and autism and anxiety and pandas and behavior challenges. So the last thing we want is our kids to be stuffed up, red itchy eyes, sinuses congested all the time. But what are our options, right? Our options, if we start with the traditional first kind of box of options, are medications. Well, those not only have terrible side effects of the drowsiness, and they increase behavior issues, and they increase hyperactivity and impulsivity and anxiety, but they also increase immune system dysfunction long term. What medications do is, even when they work symptomatically, let's say, someone's hammering on the Mucinex or the Claritin or the Singulair, or, it's like remember when you were a kid? Okay, I grew up, unfortunately, we didn't know anything about fast food. So when we would go out to eat, it was usually, McDonald's and all that stuff. And we had soda and you would take your cup. What do they call that as a kid? I don't want to say it out loud. What we called ours, actually, it's pretty freaking dead on. We called it Sus. Oh, that's rough. But we called them, when you mix it together, like this flavor and that flavor and that flavor. I actually know many patients who are like, we do it all. I take multiple over the counter. We're on prescription medications. I shouldn't say patients because over time we get them to this episode. We teach them this stuff. We adjust their nervous system. We rebuild their immune system. I'm going to give it to you all today. And they get out of this whole allergy thing. But if you're mixing medications, goodness gracious, that's tough. Now, second option. The second category would be what we would call the natural holistic approach to that. And I'm going to go into this. I'm going to go into the best allergy fighting supplements, essential oils, raw local honey. I know our audience, though. I think a lot of you are pretty well equipped in the homeopathic, nature's medicine cabinet. That's how we love to do it. We actually have a really great handout that we can put with this one called Raising Healthy Kids Naturally, and our nature's medicine cabinet handout. They're kind of the same thing. But we have a lot of immune system fighting supplements. And so we have this kind of natural health, functional nutrition approach that we can take to this. If you're really rocking down that road, you know that when the allergies are flared up and the system's getting more inflamed, more congested for your child or for you, well, then you want to shift your diet. And this is a good place to be all the time, but you really want to take sugar down. You want to take dairy down, and you want to take, preservatives and foods with chemicals and processed elements. Because what do those create in the body? Too much sugar, too much dairy, too much gluten and grains, and too many processed foods. Well, those create inflammation. Inflammation becomes mucus, and it makes allergies it makes allergies worse. So right there, we've gone down what I would say are the two roads that when I meet patients, these are the two roads that we've gone down. And today I chose to talk about Kylie's story. Kylie is like, goodness, how long we've been at it. I don't know if it's thousands yet. I'm never really good with actually adding up the math, but it's at least hundreds. There's only so many patients one clinic can see per year. And then it's a different spread of different challenges we help our patients with. But allergies is something we have from the beginning of PWC, and our practice and our PX Docs approach then comes into that because it all kind of started in our practice. And now we teach these protocols to others. Kylie's case is classic. So from the time she was little, she was congested. Kylie's case history was a pretty stressful pregnancy, birth intervention, kind of the C-section induction. It makes its way into the allergy conversation as well. And I'll come back and I'll connect those dots. And Kylie will really help us with this in the beginning story. And so from the time she was little, she was the classic, always kind of congested and snortly and colicky and refluxy infant and little one. So when the teeth started to come and the growth first started to come, she got into ear infections. And then there was many rounds of ear infections, which comes with many rounds of antibiotics, because somehow still today, the conventional medical system still does a lot of that, right? So by the time we met her, actually the number one complaint they came in for care with during the spring was allergies, right? She was just constantly congested, runny nose, itchy eyes, drowsiness, allergies. Now, what's so cool, and this is why I want you to see, by the time we get done, I want you to see that the best solution, natural health, drug-free solution for allergies and immune system dysfunction, and really what's underneath this is inflammation, is to do both. Both is the natural, functional, supplement, diet changes, homeopathic. We're going to get into those and address the nervous system dysregulation. Because Kylie was actually referred to us by our functional medicine expert homies, okay? So the providers over there had been working on all these things with this incredible family to get them to clean up the environment at home, to get them to clean up the diet. They were working on some supplements and things to rebuild immune function and try and address inflammation. And Kylie was getting better. There was definitely some lessening of the symptoms with the raw local honeys, the essential oils, the vitamin C's, the vitamin D's, the immune defense sort of supplements and homeopathics. I remember they were getting better for sure. But if you pause right here with me, so you know that there's more to the scientific root cause story of allergies, they still presented to our clinic for nervous system focused chiropractic care, because despite all that, she still was struggling a lot with these allergies. So what we found is that nervous system dysregulation was doing two things to Kylie's body. Number one, it was just messing with the plumbing. We're going to really get simple here in a second. And we're going to say what happens when the nervous system is subluxated. So when there's misalignment of the cranial structures and the cranial bones and the upper cervical vertebrae and the sphenoid, which is a cranial bone, kind of going back to that. So things that chiropractors find and fix. To be very black and white with this one, I really want to simplify the allergy conversation. You get misalignment, you get subluxation, you get limited drainage, you get limited plumbing, especially because just think about the anatomy of where the symptoms of allergies set up shop the most. In the head, the sinus headache, the sinus pressure, the congested eyes, the runny nose, right? The filling of the ears. Well, all of that is directly, literally next door neighbors to the cranial system, to what's called the atlas vertebrae, the top one, the axis vertebrae. That's why birth trauma. So when we were able to go back in the case history and connect the dots for Kylie's mom, this wasn't genetic. She doesn't have allergies, and by the way, doesn't have them anymore because we got all the way into the root cause, but she didn't have them then because it was genetic. And she didn't have them either simply because of gluten or sugar or needing to rebuild her microbiome only. She needed to rebuild her nervous system function. She had subluxation. And the second thing that subluxation does is subluxation then gets into these systems. We're going to talk about the gut, immune, and nervous system connection. And it creates a hypersensitive state, because that's what you want to know about allergies. It's, don't point the finger at those beautiful blooming trees and go, dang you. And it's weird. And it's not weird, actually. That's the word that kind of naturally comes out of me. It's heartbreaking. Like, my kids all have friends, from their different classes and sports and whatever. And a lot of them, you got to imagine. So have fun. It's our podcast, right? Imagine you're sitting in the bleachers. So tonight, Oliver's got to track me, okay, when I get done recording this. And imagine you're a new parent or any parent, and you're sitting next to me, Dr. Tony Ebel of the Experience Miracles podcast, and the number one person on earth who never shuts up about nervous system focused chiropractic care and drug-free healing. How long do you think you need to sit next to me at a basketball game or a track meet before I just casually slide the nervous system into the conversation, people? Okay? It doesn't take long. Let's just say that. I'm a pretty extroverted, social, chatty McChatterson, okay? Now, let's run that out a little further. What do I love to talk about? The weather? No, it's going to be freezing tonight. So everybody's going to talk about that. I'm like, boring. Next topic. And then I live in, politics. No, never, right? Sports. Okay, we could for a bit. Where does sports meet? But let's give that a little bit. We're going to talk about the nervous system. Where am I going with this? Okay. When we get into these conversations and I go out into real life, I was so excited to make this one for your families, and please share it far and wide, because it breaks my heart that kids are trying to run at a track meet, stuffed up, congested, asthmatic. One of my son's class teammates on his cross-country team, who is a wildly gifted athlete and so stinking awesome, and they're finally coming in here because I know now it's track and now he's congested again, and he's asthmatic, right? So he's got to take his medications and an inhaler. Now, I'm not at all ever going to just say, oh, allergies and asthma, tough it out. That's not even at all what we're saying. Goodness gracious. But it breaks my heart that families, everybody doesn't know the real root cause, and the fact that there is drug-free, natural, neurological solutions to get to the underneath full foundational cause of these things, get the body to heal, get to the other side of these, and go on, live your life, okay? So again, maybe it's the inspiration of the Carhartt hat I'm rocking during this one here today. Just the thought of like, I live on a farm, I can't wait to get outside. Our kids, we're going to be out there 24/7, 365, and it breaks my heart that kids or anyone wouldn't be able to just go outside in nature and live life, go outside and run and not have to worry about congestion and headaches and then the medications that come with it. And then I think I'm still a little bit into this season of like, even in this natural health world, guys, there's more to it, all right? So here's how I want to break it down. So why the traditional approach fails, medications, Claritin, Zyrtec, well, duh, right? That's kind of our us natural health families and parents. We get that one. It's like they're just treating symptoms. They actually make the body worse, make it work worse long-term. And so you get very limited, symptomatic only possibly benefits. You get a ton of side effects short-term and a ton of side effects long-term. So the medications are just a Band-Aid. They never address why the immune system is dysregulated, hypersensitive. They definitely never go one layer deeper like we're about to with nervous system dysregulation. But what about diet changes, detoxes, homeopathic remedies, essential oils, supplements? They are more natural, and therefore they are much more supportive of getting the body to work better on its own. But here's how I want you to think about this. And I would love to teach you this concept with pretty much any conversation, in the shoot here, okay? Whether we're talking about allergies like today or we're talking about autism. So medicine chases symptoms only. Symptoms come from systems of the body that are malfunctioning and dysfunctioning. So if you got digestive systems, okay, the gut's not working right. If you've got allergies and those sort of respiratory congestion, mucus, those sort of things, okay, the immune system's out of whack, right? If you've got some other, the motor challenges, okay, that's the sensory motor system. So symptoms are on the surface, systems, gut, immune, endocrine, those sort of systems of the body, they're beneath the surface, if we will. We're kind of playing a little anatomical analogy here. But there's one system, singular, that controls, coordinates, and modulates the function of all other systems. And that's the nervous system. And so what needs to happen to get a child or get a patient to fully, completely heal from allergies, drug-free, naturally, entirely? I'm going to use that word one more time. I can't tell you how many kids and cases we've been able to help get all the way to the other side. And it's not about treatment, and it's not a cure. Not at all. That's not what I'm saying. It's just that we're able to get to the deepest layer of dysfunction and dysregulation of seasonal allergies for kids. And by the way, for adults, you can heal all the way through this too. And so while I absolutely love, I want to go to this list right here. So like on the shelf over here, and honestly, pretty much every year, I can't remember the last time we used them. So we often, and I'm going to give you my kids' analogy for the best, right? That's what I always promise to do with this podcast. Come from the doctor perspective, yes, but also come from the dad perspective. Because I feel like that's how we can cross-section and get it to real life, all right? Now, my little Ebel sucker kids, they've been cheating, okay? They have, a pretty dialed-in pediatric chiropractor for a dad. They have 2 dialed-in natural health loving, resilience, adaptability, health-building parents. Like, it's how we roll. So I say that they get to cheat in a good way, all right? We typically end up throwing out our supplements and our essential oils here from the Ebel household because they go expired, which is cool. That means they actually have some natural living products to them, right? Because food that never expires is not food, right? Or supplements that never expired are synthetic supplements, okay? You want your stuff to expire, okay? To be honest, kind of getting ready for this one, I was just going through as I always do. Like, I don't just turn this on and go after. I love to take my notes, be prepared, and get as thorough as I can, while also not belaboring any okay, I like to belabor some points if I'm being honest sometimes, really drive it home. Anyways, so I went to look at our shelf because spring is coming, and I made my notes, and I'm like, hey, here's my favorite products. I love Orthomolecular for this stuff, okay? Biggest fan ever. Now, on a podcast that is not about supplements, and it's not about nutrition, and we're not sponsored by anyone, okay? I'm probably not supposed to say my favorite brand, right? Because my chiropractors and friends, we take care of patients that work at Orthomolecular and everything else. They're going to be like, I love you, Tony. Thanks for saying it on the podcast. It's really great. And then people who love Standard Process or Claire or I don't know. The other ones are going to be like, well, you jerk, we have the same products too. And then they're going to go, our formulation. And then I'll be like, I know, but I'm not here to battle formulation. I'm here to get people deeper information about nervous system dysregulation. So Love orthomolecular products. Allergy Defense, D-Hist, Viricid, Sinotrol, raw local honey. We've got people that live right by us, so we get it all the time. We have essential oils, okay? We have vitamin C and vitamin D. We take our probiotics. Truth be told, most of these immune system allergy supporting supplements from our house, they go expired before we ever use them. Now, that isn't because we don't have allergies. That's not the message I want to say. We don't have allergies. But there's a deeper question within that. Why don't we have allergies? A lot of people, when I go hang out with my extended family, there's allergies. They have the same genetics as me, but they don't live the same as our kids and our family, right? So this is not something, just like you don't catch a cold or catch the flu, pollen isn't the problem. The dander isn't the problem. The grass and the trees and spring and where you live and the climate aren't the problem. What we got to do is we got to look inside, not just to the systems, but we got to look at nervous system dysregulation. We got to say, what's going on there? And what we have is we have our kids and our families and ourselves have the most sympathetic dominant, just subluxated nervous system dysregulation, dysautonomia levels. We're all so stuck in sympathetic overdrive. We're so wound up that literally our body physically gets jammed up, and you can't move mucus and lymphatic along as easily when you're full attention, and it's in your neck, and it's in your head, and it's in your face, and it's in your jaw, and it's in your shoulders. And just think about if your kiddo is in that sympathetic fight or flight state, how are they? They're wound up, right? Now think about trying to move fluid through that, because the way God designed us is we just kick it out. Stuff comes in, gets trapped in the nasal passageways, the airway. The body naturally senses that when the nervous system is connected, creates a little bit more mucus to grab a hold of those bad guys, takes that from the ears, the nose, the throat, the airway, puts it into the lymphatics, puts it into the gut, which is full of acidity and probiotics, kills it off, and then from the gut to the porcelain removal system, to the toilet. That's how the body's immune system. So we're all worried awesomely in this world about quercetin and immunoglobulins and cytokines and all this other sort of stuff. And we know the science of immune function. Well, that follows plumbing, the mechanics of drainage. So when we're wound up and we're sympathetic dominant, we're wound up and we can't drain. So what the first thing a chiropractic adjustment does is it loosens up those structures and moves fluid and mucus and congestion along. I'm telling you, when it comes to allergies and congestion, there's immediacy to chiropractic adjustments, and it is awesome. And we go through a lot of Kleenexes and tissues and towels at our office instantly because we help kids and families with this so much. But the other deeper benefit is when you fully, entirely address nervous system dysregulation and you get the nervous system out of sympathetic dominance and you get it balanced and regulated once again, now the immune system chills out. Now the digestive system works better. Now there isn't so much hypersensitivity and pro-inflammatory cyclic nature to the system. And so not only does the body get better on its own, but you don't need so many supplements. You don't need so many essential oils. And we love them because they open the airway. And we love the supplements because they support the immune system instead of doing the job for it. So we love all those things in our Nature's Medicine cabinet. From this platform, from this podcast, we'll continue to send you those guides. Our Nature's Medicine cabinet, our Raising Healthy Kids Naturally. We will probably do an immune system summit one time. By the way, massive autism summit coming up in May. You better believe we're going to talk about the system to systems to symptoms. We're going to talk about the neuroinflammation and the neurogastroimmune system, kind of inflammatory cascade. A lot that comes into play because a lot of our kids with autism really struggle with allergies and congestion and being sick all the time. So we're in that conversation here. So diet changes, detoxes, supplements, natural supports, have them on hand, have them be ready. But the take-home message for this is you must address nervous system dysregulation and sympathetic dominance fully, completely, and aggressively is the word I'm going to leave you with on this one during the spring months. So if you're already under care, but hey, I'm I'm kind of a regular ongoing chiropractic patient, but spring is coming and you want to get outside, you want to live life, up your schedule a little bit. So up your dosage of nervous system focused care, okay? If you're not under care yet, go to pxdocs.com, plug in your zip code, and find a PX doctor. Get scanned, get started, and get some relief from spring allergies, because the deepest level with which you can approach these things and get after these things is truly nervous system focused chiropractic care. Because when you get the main system, nervous system working better, then all the other systems, lymphatic, respiratory, digestive, immune system, all start to work better and chill out and do their job. And when they do their job, you can go outside. And yes, there's more pollen, there's more whatever, but your body figures it out, adapts, responds, and does so effectively and efficiently without all the symptoms of allergies. That's how it works. So if you know another family, you know another kiddo who, like, every time you see them, especially in the March, April, May, and then again, this comes back around in the fall, every time it's allergy season. And guys, all of this is now on our vernacular because medicine and the media sold it to us. There's no such thing as cold and flu season. There's immune system dysregulation season. And then it just changes form to spring and fall, and we blame flowers instead of flu viruses. But it's the same problem, okay? It is neuroimmune system dysregulation. When we address it at its deepest, fullest level, your season is always healthy season. Live life to the fullest. That's why it's called PX Doctors, the experience, pediatric experience. There shouldn't be a limited experience in any month, any season, any time for our kids, whether it's outside, inside, wherever. They should have strong, healthy nervous systems, immune systems, resilient adaptability, no Claritin, no Mucinex needed. And if it's really, really rocking, not even any supplements or essential oils needed. And that's awesome. That is a sign of full throttle, kick ASS health. And I want that so badly for your family and so many other families. So if this one lands and you feel like there's another family or other families that will help with, be helped and benefit from this message, send it along. As always, please make sure you're subscribing to the podcast. Please make sure you leave a review if you can. We love it, love it, love it, love it when you do. And it just helps us reach so many more kids and families with that message of hope, answers, and drug-free help. Okay. So, was the season for the spring allergy conversation. Just wanted to see if there's any other questions on those. Oh, you know what, Faith? I'll add this in overtime, and it's really a big key with it. None of this, so nervous system dysregulation and immune system dysregulation and hypersensitivity, inflammation, it's all cyclical, and it develops over years. That's the best way, truthfully, to say it. Which means when we talk about, and today I went right into it, when I talk about the patients that we have helped get all the way to the other side of allergies, we usually have to go through at least 1, 2, or 3 seasons where even though they're getting healthier and they're getting stronger, we have to help support that kid or that patient naturally, neurologically, holistically through a tough season or two, without the drugs. So I love that's the way to say this and think about this and do this. And it doesn't mean there isn't going to be stuff like, and get boost adjustments, get extra adjustments to boost the immune system and get those sinuses and those lungs and lymphatics draining, and then take the supplements to do these things. I hope you guys, sometimes it's tough with my job on the podcast. I'm trying to contrast between options, not to say do one, not others, but to put them in the right priority order. Prioritization and sequencing is everything to natural health and full and complete healing. And one of the priorities we have to ask the body to do is to do the job. And so if in the past, your kiddos, your family had a lot of allergies and there were a lot of drugs and medications, over the counter or prescription, one thing to know, which is just real, is it's really, really, really deep within the system. And so even when you start with chiropractic care and you start with natural health and working on it from that way, it's probably, especially for kids a little older, and there's been a lot of seasons and a lot of struggles and a lot of medications and a lot of suppression, it's going to take many rounds, many laps around the track to get that system all the way rebuilt. So what we do is the first couple of seasons, spring and then fall, and then maybe the next spring, we tell parents the truth. Like, hey, the first one might, with this care and with us on your team, it's going to be smoother than the past, but it might not be entirely smooth. But if we really stay away from the medications and we work hard naturally and neurologically with this one, we're building up health and resiliency. We're getting the body to work better. So the next one is going to be smoother. And then if we do the same thing there, if we avoid the medications, we avoid the drugs, and we do this naturally and neurologically, well, then the one after that is going to get smoother because the system's going to get stronger. And so really with immune system stuff, I'm glad that came up, because you really, really want to know you have to face challenges to become stronger for them. And so lean in, really do hold the fort, hold the line as best as you possibly can, away from the medications, and really go full send onto nervous system focused adjustments, even if you need to get a bunch of boost adjustments while allergies are kicking your guys' butts. And then a lot of the supplements and a lot of those things, because they're natural and they support. And I promise you do that through a couple of these seasons. And that means, what are we saying then? It might take 2 to 3 years of like really committing to this lifestyle and really committing to this kind of healing to see the full, complete, transformative results. And again, I always speak to that because I've been blessed to be around that long, right? Of seeing things really through the longer lens. And I hope that helps for some final perspective on that, to say, okay, there's some depth to this. And when you go through it, even if the symptoms and the challenges are there, but you support the body with adjustments and with these natural things instead of suppress the symptoms with medications, just know that you're getting relief in the short term, but you're also getting health promotion, restoration, and rebuilding to get away from these entirely and fully in the long term. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. Do you have a question that you would like to submit? Either send it to support@pxdocs.com with the subject Ask Dr. Tony, or head on over to our socials @pxdocs, where you can submit your question in our stories every single week. Every kid counts and every family counts, so let's leave no questions left unanswered. If you loved this episode and you want to help us reach more kids, we would so appreciate if you left a review and a rating on your favorite platform. God bless. Be well. We'll see you on the next one.